Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Baltimore Guys. I'm your host, Bazil, and joining me today is the lovely, wonderful, you guys know her from YouTube, Twitch. It is BigBossBoze. Boze, how are you today?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for joining me. I just wanted to talk to you because, following you through this past year, you're a pretty interesting person, so take that as a compliment. And hearing about you in regards to things that you've gone through in your life, especially regarding depression, I thought it'd be great to have you on and talk about your story, seeing that you are a public figure out there. And I think especially for your younger viewers, it'd be nice to hear someone, that has gone through something that maybe they're going through as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The whole time while you were talking, I wanted to respond, but I felt my accent just creeping through, and I was like, no, talk to him like this. It's gonna be, but I can't. I can't hold it in. It's really killing me right now.
It's all good. Don't worry about it.
I think it's something about it being so early in the morning since I haven't had time to speak to other people yet. So it's just coming in hard. I'm gonna try to get rid of it. Let's do this. I'm ready.
You know that I'm not editing that out. I'm not editing it out. It's in there.
Oh god, that's
there.
Funny. Yeah, I figured otherwise I'll be answering a question. I'll be yeah, everything started back, and then it's just so I'm let's just get it out now. All right.
Good morning, y'all. So, what was life growing up for you? Because you are originally from Virginia. I'm in Baltimore, so DMV, shout out, represent. You're out in LA now, but what was life like for you in VA?
It was. God, it's happening again. Okay, it was. I feel like it's kind of hard for me to answer that. I don't know exactly what. Did I just get nervous? I think I'm nervous.
Wow.
I don't know.
I'm talking to the celebrity and she's nervous.
I've never just had somebody ask me so divulge all of your life secrets.
Well, I wasn't going that deep. I mean, you took it there.
Okay. Let's say I was born in a very Christian household. And I was in a very country, rural area. We went to church every Sunday,
for
mercilessly.
3 hours.
Also Wednesday nights. Yeah, the majority of my life growing up was basically church until I moved to a different city when I was 10 or 11.
And
what do you mean? Oh, you mean after 11? What?
Yeah.
Then I moved to a different city and it was a little more diverse and I went to school. I was in some special programs. Not like I was slow. I was fast, kind of special.
Oh, so you were okay. You're the other one. Okay. So you should have said I was in advanced class. Because when you just say,
I was in some advanced classes, yeah, and then and I was super super by that point. So when I was 12 or 13, I just got on the internet, and then everything else. And now here we are.
So what led to you being so super sad? Did you have a mental breakdown moment, or was it just the whole, I guess you can say, Christianity rigidity and regimen and all that?
I never had a mental breakdown moment. I would say I had very low self-esteem, from the get-go. I had one parent that wasn't in the picture, and then our life was all religion. The biggest issue that I ran into is that I'm very light-skinned, and the church that we went to was all a lot of there were a lot of darker skinned people there that for some reason didn't like me or didn't accept me. And for some just for some reason from the get-go, I was just bullied. People were just not nice to me at all. And I never really knew why. We went to a church where a lot of people just didn't accept us. We went there because of my grandparents. And a lot of these kids were just not nice to me for whatever reason. There was a few different issues, but Yeah, people were not kind to us. And after a while, we left there. But at that point, my self esteem was already pretty much beat into the ground. Usually, when kids are like 8 or 9, they begin to like develop an identity about themselves. I didn't have the opportunity to do that. Other people taught me what my worth was. And my impression of myself was that I was worth absolutely nothing.
That's crazy. And so, was that mainly based off of the area you're in because it was rural and then it was VA? So I'm assuming there was a lot of white folk there.
No, actually, it was exactly the opposite.
Really?
Yeah.
So then
and
it's
that's
our kind hating our kind for.
kinda, yeah, actually. And the thing is that I never really thought of that, and I never really like attributed it to me. It was just everything was my fault and I was just a bad person. But I mean, I was just different than everyone else that was there.
That's crazy because I've seen like pictures and videos. And I'm like, she's not really that light. I don't know if it's the lighting or whatever the case may be, but I guess back then you were much lighter. I don't know. I'm just assuming here.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't say that it was all like, just race stuff. I mean, there was just like a few other factors. I was kind of an annoying kid. I was very religious. I was quick to answer like any of the questions. It's like, where was Moses standing when he called upon God? And I'm like, ooh, I know the answer. So like, I'm that
And
annoying
everyone's
kid
like,
that
oh,
has
that
all
kid.
the answers. I look a little different. There is a myriad of reasons why, but whatever the case was, at the time, I didn't understand the concept of not being annoying or that some people can dislike you just because of the way that you look. And so I attributed it to I was a bad person. And a lot of people do that with no matter what the situation is because we're children. We don't know why people treat us certain ways. We don't know that people may have a bad situation at home and then take it out on us. We don't know that. We just place all the blame on ourselves.
So what did you like at that young age? I mean, I'm sure you were wearing your emotions on your sleeve, or did you hide it well to where your family and didn't really notice that there was anything wrong?
I'm a very sensitive person. I spent a lot of my time crying for help. But at the time, my family was very religious, and although I didn't want to go to church because I was being bullied and just treated like shit, I had to go. And so that was another thing that made me feel very like trapped and powerless as a child, was that although I was so upset and like begging my family, like, don't make me do this, don't put me in this position, they did anyways. So eventually I just became numb to Sundays.
Oh, wow. So then it was kind of like they didn't listen to what you were saying and it kind of almost attributed to the issue.
Yeah. When you don't have like a support system or friends and your family, and it's not something I fault them for now, they thought that they were doing what's best for them. They thought that they were doing what's best for me, taking me to church and making me, become a Christian and exposing me to this. So I'm not upset with them, but a lot of people, they don't read a book before they raise a child. They don't learn to listen to their child, which is very important because otherwise that child will grow up thinking that their feelings and their ideas don't matter. And that's what happened to me.
Do you think that if you had that other parent in your life that would have helped the situation at any point or helped you?
That's kind of a black or white question because I don't know how that parent would have reacted in those situations.
Are you in contact with them now, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when you made that transition to you guys moved and then you were in school, what was that like for you? Is it just a carryover to what you experienced then, or was this like a different, experience?
It was different. When I moved to a different area, then I was friends with a lot of hold on. Let me let me think of how I'm gonna phrase this.
Okay.
Okay, I got you. When I moved, the city that I moved to was a lot different. There was a lot of like good schools. A lot of my friends were white kids, and like I also didn't realize at that time that I was still different. I was still different than everyone that I was hanging out with. So, every few months or so, I'd have like some kid call me a blackie or say that I had to be Scary Spice or that,
Every
just a lot of,
stereotypical thing at
yeah.
the
So,
time.
um, it sounds really silly, but like I experienced like both sides of racism just because I looked a little bit different than, everyone else. Um, yeah. And it's sometimes it's easier to, if someone looks different than you, it's easy to just say like, oh, they don't have the same feelings or emotions that I do, and that's okay. They deserve this because they look different. And that goes for a lot of different races, not just, black, white, light skin, anything.
So during this time period, you decided to get yourself on the internet. Is this when you
Yeah.
started a Twitch?
No, no, no. This is when I was like 12.
Oh, well. Oh, well. Okay, yeah. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I started getting online when I was like 11 or 12. It was definitely like my escape. Because at this point I had a few friends here and there, but going online was like I could meet people with the same interests as mine. I could, if we weren't really clicking, then maybe we would just stop talking. But I eventually had a group of friends that, we would log on to MapleStory every day. And we were like, let's ride, like squad up, squad, squad, squad. And like, it was crazy because I finally had friends that didn't give a fuck what I looked like.
Right.
That like, it didn't matter, And like I said previously, as a child, I never attributed anything to like skin color or like, anything. I didn't know about that stuff. I was just like, these people are treating me this way because I am a bad person. That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm able to look back on it as an adult and kind of say like, oh, this was a portion of it. And it wasn't me. And I think it's really important to do as an adult.
So with your time online, and you're building, this network of friends now, is that helping build your self-esteem and helping you build your character?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the biggest like attributes to my self-esteem was I started playing these online games like MapleStory or Crossfire. Crossfire was like a first-person shooter, which actually still exists.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first step in feeling like I was good enough for something. Because in MapleStory, I was incredibly high level, and people would always be like, yo, we got to get Boze to do this dungeon with us because we need her shit. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here, boys, Or like in Crossfire, we would have teams of like, 5 people, or I'm sorry, like 12 people. And they'd always be like, yo, we need Boze to clutch, Like it was the first time that I felt needed because of my ability to do something. It was the first time in my life that I felt needed. So I pretty much got addicted to video games.
So at what point were you like diagnosed as being clinically depressed though?
I went to like therapists like as a kid. My mom always took me to Christian counselors, which was an issue because at that point I was so shut off to Christianity. I'm not going to give you a real answer. I'm not going to tell you how I'm feeling because I don't trust you.
Right.
So I'd gone to like 2 therapists as a kid, and like it didn't really, I don't even remember anything from those. And I was always in denial about being depressed. I didn't really realize I was depressed until I was like 25.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's late. Well, actually, a lot of people nowadays, they don't even realize it themselves, or like you said, just denial.
Well, it's not denial. The thing is that I kind of slipped into low self-worth as a child,
Right.
like around 7 or 8. I mean, it was early, man. And the thing is, if you've never lived, this is going to sound really corny, but if you've never lived being happy for a significant amount of time, you have nothing to compare it to.
Right.
You cannot compare depression to a happiness that you've never experienced before. Like you just don't know.
So what was it like for you when you made a transition as you got older to Twitch? Because that's an interactive, people are there to see you kind of deal, and you're putting yourself out there. So what was that experience like for you?
So my story on getting into Twitch was really weird.
Oh God.
I was working at a restaurant as a bartender, and I was stocking late at night. After you get off of your shift, you have to restock the front bar from the beer cooler.
Hmm.
And I was restocking beers, and I slipped in the beer cooler because there's just ice everywhere, and I sprained my ankle pretty bad. I was out of work for 2 weeks for workman's comp because they're supposed to scrape the ice in certain areas of the freezer. So I was out for 2 weeks, paid, yada, yada, yada. And in this time, I would spend a lot of time playing League of Legends. And I watched this streamer one night just playing League, and he was like, all right, if anyone wants to play, drop your usernames in the chat right now. And I mean, the chat was flooded with usernames of people that wanted to play. And I'd been at home for like 4 days at this point, just sitting in my chair playing League of Legends by myself. And I was like, dude, I want people to play with. If I start streaming, then maybe I can build a community of people to always play with, especially when I'm, sitting here at home. And this was 3, maybe 4 years ago. So I literally started my stream, no camera. I went out the next day and I bought a stick of RAM so that I could stream. And so I started my stream that night, no camera, just playing League of Legends. I was like platinum, and my title was like grinding to diamond or something, And so I did have a microphone. So I started getting viewers because they were like, oh, here's a female that's like in platinum. So I started getting viewers. I would post my link in League of Legends chats afterwards. and then after about a week, I had a night that I was streaming and I made $30. And I lived with my parents at the time, and I like ran downstairs and I told my stepdad, I was like, yo, dog, I made $30 last night. And he was like, doing what? And I was like, playing video games. And so the next night I streamed again, and I came downstairs and I told my stepdad, I made $150 last night. And
Whoa,
at this point,
I bet he's questioning that. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, what the fuck? So I made, and then like the next night, I don't really remember everything from there, but I knew that it was $30, then like, a significant amount of money. And that's when I decided I was not going to go back to work. So I had really bad anxiety at the time, and I didn't even want to make the phone call to say that I was quitting, which I'm so embarrassed about. But I mean,
really?
I can't even remember how high strung my anxiety was at the time. Like I was like, oh, they're going to hate me. They're going to be mad at me. And like, I just didn't call. I just didn't go back. And that's when I became a Twitch streamer.
So you were on Twitch for how long?
I would say that was like 3 or 4 years ago. I still stream. So.
Right. So then you were on Twitch. You got found. You made your way to LA. Now, with your high anxiety, was that a nervous transition for you? Like, were you like pacing back and forth, like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. Should I do this? Yeah.
No, not really. Well, I was nervous in the beginning because there was like an interview process, like, because I was about to join Smosh possibly, and there was a whole interview process for it. And I was nervous about that, but it's like, by the time I got out to LA and I met all of them, this was in January of 2017, I met all of them and we just all clicked. We just instantly clicked, and it felt like I was about to have this group of friends that I'd always wanted in person rather than being online. So there was no anxiety. There was just like excitement. The only anxiety I had was like, what if I didn't make it,
Right. So then you mentioned before like how that change of scenery, it really made like a huge impact on how you felt, how you thought. Could you like talk about that and elaborate on that?
Yeah. The change of scenery one was the weather. I believe now that weather has an immense impact on your mood, whether you believe it or not. Being in a city where the sun shines every day is like, it's insane. It really definitely does something to you. On another point is, so I joined Smosh, and after 9 or 10 months, I hit 80,000 followers on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And prior to that, I wanted to be a Twitch streamer. I wanted to be famous, and I wanted to be popular because I thought that meant being accepted. I thought that if, all of these people liked me, that I would feel better about myself. And when I hit 80,000 followers, I like celebrated it, blah, blah, blah. And I was really excited. And I realized that this was something that I wanted, and I still kind of felt nothing. And then just a few months later, I hit 100,000 followers. And that's when I realized that it literally did nothing for me. I still actually hated myself. I still didn't believe in myself. I still had low self-esteem. I thought that, like, I have all these people that are telling me they love me and they're commenting on my pictures every day and, leaving YouTube comments, but it still did nothing for how I felt about myself. And that was the day that I realized I had to learn to love myself, because no matter how many people love you, it's not going to change how you feel about yourself.
So at this, whole, I guess you can say, what's the word I'm trying to think of here?
Oh, I'm trying to think with you, and I can't think of it either.
Oh my God. I was about to say euphoria, but that's not the word. It's
Oh,
epiphany?
Yes, it's like a crossroads. It's like when you realize there's something
Right.
big going on here and you have
Right.
like a decision to make. Yeah.
Right. So you made this decision and this transition. So how did things change for you after you had that moment of realization?
Well, first thing was first. I had to go back into my history, my past, and figure out why I felt this way about myself. And I went through a lot of different scenarios of things that had happened in my life that had hurt me, and realized how that created an image of how I saw myself. Um, I believe that when people are like younger, teenagers, children, they carry, like, when things happen to you, like particularly trauma, you end up carrying that pain with you until you can resolve it. All of the bullying and stuff that I went through when I was younger, I thought at the time it was just me. I was a bad person. Well, I had to grow up as an adult and reevaluate those situations and take all of the knowledge that I've gained over the last 20 years of the world and people and figure out, maybe these kids were having a bad day. Maybe I was the easy target. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. I had to go back to, why did my family always make me go to church? Because that's how they were raised and that's what they thought was best. Their intent was not to hurt me or to make me feel powerless. If you don't resolve these issues that, like, you're carrying with you, then all of the information that you receive, what somebody says to you, what somebody does in front of you, you receive that information through a filter of your own pain in the past. And I had to get rid of that filter. And I just started making steps by unraveling my past.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because I've been bullied and then I've been the bullier. And
Yeah.
and it's not and just like a little backstory on me now, switching things, because I grew up semi-religious. My parents came from Africa in the 80s, and so I was like the first generation born of my family here in the States. And so, things was great. My dad was going to school here. My mom had like a babysitting service. Everything seemed fine to me. Then my dad, because he's big into politics, that's what he was doing back in Congo. And he had an opportunity to go back to Africa and do what he always wanted to do, is be a part of the government to help his people and everything. And when he went back, shit hit the fan. He had an affair with a woman, had a child. My mom was devastated. And I'm at 11 at the time. So I'm hearing my mom howling and crying. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, at that point in time, you're just a kid. You're thinking, like, you're not even thinking anything of it. And then when she told me, even still then, I didn't think anything of it until I got older. I understood
and you were able to understand that.
Right. And I understood that. And I was like, oh, whoa. So, like, this is actually, like, legitimately serious. Like, this is a big deal. And then when he would come back periodically, just the fights. I mean, I remember myself, I had to fight my dad because he was, like, getting on my mom. And I was just like, what do you, the person who's been here, I got to defend her. And it was crazy because at that point in time, I to the outside, everyone would have thought, oh my God, there's Brazil. He's so funny. He's cool, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But then they don't know, like you said, people don't know the shit that you have back at home. And, for that, I guess you can say 8-year or 10-year period, almost as long as, like you were saying, you were depressed, I was literally battling, trying to find structure in my household that was there before. And now the pressure's on me, and me being in a teenager, no kid should have to
Right.
put that responsibility on there. But at the same time, too, I'm glad I had it on me because it helped me learn, helped me develop, and also helped me realize what I don't want to do for my kids in the future. So when you, like you were saying, when you look back on that stuff and peel away the, and the pieces, and get an in-depth look and stuff, people don't want to do that because, the skeletons in the closet they're afraid of. But I think
Right.
people should be more willing to face that, because at the end of the day, all you're doing is trying to better your life. No one has to know what you're trying to fix. I think people think like by them doing this, like it's people are going to find out. Like, no, it's no one's business but your own. So you're trying to make your life better. It doesn't matter to anybody else but you. And I think that's the important part.
Yeah, and you owe it to yourself. You have to take care of yourself. You have to realize when like these burdens and these pains that you're carrying around are beginning to hurt you and manifest themselves in different ways.
So once you made this, because did you think, like, I'm not trying to ask about Smosh, but like I'm just saying in general, was there like a shift on your tone of how you approached your work days now? Like, did you get there before, like, how do I want to ask this? Conflict of interest. I'll say this. When you first got there, people, I mentioned this, like I told you about this before, how people don't like change. When you first got there, it's like you were enemy number one. And the comment section was filled with that. Did that stuff bother you at any point in time? Like, was that still at the point where people were saying you love you, then there were people who were saying they hated you and stuff? Did that stuff affect you?
No, not really.
Haters gonna hate, you're just like, whatever.
It's not that I completely ignored it. It's that I couldn't take it seriously. Like I just couldn't. And yeah, I'm a little desensitized from being on the internet for 10 years. Well, longer than that, but for just being online for so long, I've gotten so much hate. Like I really don't give a fuck anymore. It's like at this point I realized half of the comments were, some people really hate Boze. If I say something mean about Boze, I'll get upvotes. They really didn't mean it, or somebody that has a bad day and then decides, oh, I hate Boze. Or maybe your ex-girlfriend looked like me, had a big old mouth and was kind of goofy looking, and you're like, I hate Boze. I don't fucking know why some people wake up and decide to type a comment and say something mean, but just as compliments didn't really affect me at the time, saying bad things didn't really affect me either. Because I don't, in my head, when you hate yourself, I don't fucking believe any of you.
Right. Whatever you say, I can say 10 times worse about me.
I can say the absolute worst shit about me, and if you're gonna try to hurt somebody's feelings online, you can't just be like, oh, you're an ugly black girl. You gotta be like, you're too sensitive and your dad left you, you gotta dig the knife in for it to hurt. You have to know me on a personal level, and just nobody could do that. It was just a bunch of surface level regular internet stuff. I would say that Twitch is a lot worse than YouTube, because on Twitch you're live and they want to get your live reaction. So on Twitch they'll say the most guttural shit that they can. And I actually got people loved when I would tear trolls apart and on my stream. People would come into my channel, say something dumb, and I would turn it on them and make them freak out and leave. I would end up turning trolls defensive. Yeah. But it's because I am a defensive person, because I've been very hurt in my life and I'm very sensitive, and I had to learn how to protect myself.
What do you think then are the biggest misconceptions or misunderstandings about people with depression or a mental disorder, personally speaking?
Personally speaking, a big misconception. Hold on, let me think about this really quick.
Gotcha.
Okay. One of the biggest misconceptions about people that are depressed, in my opinion, is you can't just ask them what's wrong because most of the time we don't fucking know. Like, we have no idea. Some of us have no idea how to be happy. Some of us don't understand how we got this way. Some of us don't realize that we're fighting a battle inside of us. You can't just ask somebody that's depressed what's wrong. I think that a lot of depression actually comes from how you feel about yourself. Let's say you're going through a divorce and your wife is leaving you. Maybe it's not so much the pain of like that leaving, but part of it is, I deserve this. I'm a piece of shit. I wasn't good enough for her. A lot of depression, I think, stems from self-esteem. So if you're going to talk to somebody about, what's going on, what kind of war they're fighting, maybe start with talking to them about, how do you see yourself and how do you feel about yourself? Because I may not know what's hurting me, but I do know how much I fucking hate myself, and that's a start.
Damn, that's a pretty deep question to first ask somebody, don't you think?
How do you feel about yourself?
Yeah.
No, because I think that if someone were to ask me that when I was really in the shams, there would be a wall. But if they were willing to show me that they cared and even ask me one more time and break down that wall, oh, I would just crumble. I'll spill everything, because if you want to know, I'll tell you. It's something that a lot of us are holding inside, and we don't get the opportunity to talk about it because we feel like nobody cares.
Now, since you've been pretty open about what your depression, what you experience, have you realized or gotten more sympathy for that? Like, are people open up like, wow, I didn't realize, you had gone through that for so long? Or
I don't know. I didn't really engage that. I mean, I didn't post it for validation. I like to put my feelings out there because I have a lot of feelings, and if somebody's going through something similar, then I want them to know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But I don't really know how people reacted to it, honestly.
oh, really? I
Yeah.
thought because that's why I even brought you on here. That's why I asked, because it took me off guard, honestly, because watching you and seeing your personality, like I said before, you would have never thought. You would have never thought that this person, would have gone through any traumatic experience. I thought it was just like, hey, they found a happy-go-lucky person that happens to be black. Like, oh, wow, look at that.
Oh God, no. I would say some of the funnier people that you meet are probably using humor to cover up some of their pain.
Right,
I
that's how it
actually
usually
noticed
is.
Yeah, dude, I noticed that when I crawled out of my depression, I was less funny. I was really disappointed. I was like, holy shit, I was only funny because I was in pain. And then I didn't have any I didn't hate myself anymore. There were no depreciative jokes. There was no calling other people out on their shit. I was like, it's not nice to do that. Like, I can't make fun of people anymore. I can't make fun of myself. I was like, I got nothing, man. I'm not funny anymore. Like, even this interview, I feel like I would have been cracking hella jokes a year ago, but now I'm just very serious.
Mm, mm, mm. I should have got you a year ago then.
I'm sorry.
So but I was asking that because we heard about the situation with Robin Williams, Anthony Bourdain, and then recently with Demi Lovato and her overdose. And she wrote that post saying, she's dealing with her demons and stuff. And now that it's just this onpouring of support. But it's I can say definitely because I have a friend who's in LA, and I can say here in Baltimore, there's tons of people homeless people, just people in general, who are all going through some sort of mental depression, but there's no one gives two shits about it. But then for some reason, when this quote unquote celebrity says something or something happens to them, it's like, oh my God, we got to talk about this now. Oh my God, Larry. And I don't understand why people seem to be more sympathetic to celebrities about depression when, you can talk to anybody, and there's people out there who are experiencing the same thing. I just want to know what you think about that.
Well, we can't chalk it up to just oh, people only care because they're famous. the famous people are tweeting about it. They're getting, stories put out about it. So of course people are going to comment on it. That's literally 75% of it. There's not a lot of like homeless people tweeting like, I'm so sad, like I feel this way.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
no.
and who's to say like who wouldn't, they wouldn't respond to that. But I will say part of it is people just want to be a part of the discussion and say that they said, I hope you feel better. I think one of the more common misconceptions also with like depression and suicide is people aren't really educated on how to make, depressed people feel better. A lot, like one of the defaults is guilt tripping people that are depressed or suicidal into like, how would your mother feel if you killed yourself? If I have the weight of the world on my chest and I feel horrible about myself, my job, my, relationship, don't add guilt on top of that. You're just making that person feel even worse. Like people don't know how to properly, take care of someone who's feeling that way.
Were you at any point, did you feel that way? Did you feel suicidal or anything?
I would, okay, in the depression community, which I consider myself an alumni of, a very long
Graduated,
time alumni.
valedictorian.
But that doesn't mean that I don't understand because I've been there. I've had friends that are severely depressive call me before, and I know what stage of their depression that they're in, and I'm like, okay, I cannot help them in this portion. There's some parts where you have to figure it out yourself, but there's a we all know about what we like to call being passively suicidal. None of us would actually actively take our own lives. We don't have the fucking we're not going to do it. But if a bus were to hit me at the time, I'd be like, yes, thank God. Like that it's like we're like, oh, we're passively suicidal, but not like actively going to do something like that. Yeah, I've never been like super, I don't know how to describe it.
Well, you've never been, I guess, that mental point where you're just like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this kind of deal.
And I guess part of it is because I never had anything to compare it to. There's got to be an even deeper level of depression of somebody that, was happy, everything was great, amazing job, amazing marriage, amazing, life, kids, family, all of that. And then maybe one day something, like turns their life around completely. And suddenly they're in an absolute deep level of depression. I never had that happen to me. So there is a level of depression that I do not understand. And at this point, I'm not even close to understanding. And I cannot speak for those people. For me, my life was really just kind of a daze. It was just sad every day. It was just sad.
It was always raining when you're around.
Always raining? Yeah, kind of.
So is there still stuff now that you want to work on as you get older, or are you at a point now where you feel like everything's stable and everything's good?
Oh God, no. When you're super depressed like that for that long, your head is filled with so much worry that you don't learn a lot of the same lessons about life that a lot of other people do. I put off a lot of things, like a lot of adulting. And I really had to get my shit together like in the past year. And I'm doing super well now. I get up at 5:30 every morning, except for the weekends, weekdays. I get a cup of coffee. I usually write a to-do list the night before of like what I want to get done in the morning. I'm working on like a lot of career pathing stuff, just doing things to make me feel better. Like I exercise in the morning. I kind of do this thing where every week, I mean, everyone has a problem like every week or every month or so, like whether it's something anxious or, something that you're embarrassed by. And I'll take whatever fucked me up that week and I'll say, how do I turn this into a goal? For example, last week, my goal was budgeting. I've never been very good with money. I used to spend for dopamine purposes. And so, I had to learn to adult and keep track of my money and not just buy dinner and buy crab legs like every freaking night.
Crab legs does sound good, though.
Dude, yeah, you're from Maryland. You get it.
Do they have Old Bay over there?
Yeah, they do, dude.
Oh, okay.
I put hella Old Bay on everything. Listen, man, I had crab legs last night.
That's why you brought it
I
up.
sure did. And right after I'm sitting here talking about budgeting. But no, so like my goal like for like 2 weeks ago was learn to budget. I got on this website. I wrote out a budget for myself. I love it. A few weeks ago, my goal was I had an issue where I had done something very embarrassing, but because of my lack of patience. So my goal for that whole month was like learn to be patient. I'm always working on myself. I'll never stop. I enjoy it. Like my goal is literally to be a good person. That's all I want.
I feel you. That's the same thing. But like, unlike you, I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Just saying.
Nice.
Just saying. Well,
nice. Dude, doesn't it not make you feel amazing?
Well, that's where I'm my most productive because sometimes I have to work overnight. I'm just like, damn, man, I'm not going to get shit done the next day. Like, I can't wait till I do, like, I have to work in the morning. So I'm like, okay, great. I get up at 5, do my workout, get online, get on my emails, write my stuff for today, and then I'm Gucci. Like, it's just...
Yeah, it's... Dude, the way I think of it is that, like at 5 a.m., nobody else's day has started yet. I'm not going to get any emails to get on my nerves, no texts. I don't go into work until 10:30. So from 5:30 to 10:30 a.m., the whole morning is mine. The minute that I walk into the office, my morning is no longer mine. I'm a slave to situations and people and expectations. But when you wake up early like that, your morning is completely yours.
So I want to slightly go back, but just talk about the whole... light skin, dark skin issue, especially with black women. Because what is that something that you're still seeing now and then as an issue? And what do you think how should women cope with it? I know part of that's loving yourself. I just want to get your opinion on it.
Light skin, dark skin? What do you mean?
That's like a big issue here as far as like... I guess you can say like measure of worth or attractiveness. You know what I mean? A lot of, like, for example, Black Panther came out, right? Every black person in America was harping on Black Panther to come out. It came out. A lot of dark-skinned women were put into the front lines. And then now it was this whole recognition of, oh my goodness, dark-skinned women are beautiful, as opposed to what the norm people thought was just people like the attractiveness you would see out there in mainstream is light-skinned women.
My opinion on that is there's this thing in Hollywood where people don't like to cast certain ethnicities because the outward-facing public will say, oh, this is not for me. I will not watch this. So Hollywood tends to cast white women or lighter skinned women because they feel like it's got a little more mass appeal. The minute that you cast a fully like black cast, people will say, oh, this isn't for me. I don't want to watch this. And it's a harsh reality of like what it really is. It doesn't necessarily mean that that is what's attractive and what's not. And what I will say also is, look, light skinned and black women, we need to open our minds to realize black is in. Black is in, baby. I'm telling you, it's in. When I was in high school, I always liked little white boys, and they didn't like me. They didn't want anything to do with me. Guess what now, dog? The thing is like it's always been kind of in the back of their head, like, I'm gonna try a black woman. I'm gonna see what that's like, you know? And like now they're more open to like reaching out and being like, hey, I find you attractive. I don't know what it is, but listen, y'all, I felt the same way. And I'm telling you now, black is in. Everybody wants a piece. You light, you dark, you medium, shit. Like, it doesn't matter. Everybody wants a piece. So you have to get rid of that preconceived notion that people do not like me because of my skin color. It ain't true. They want to try a bite. They want to know what heaven tastes like. You know, we have to take that veil off and realize that people of all races are into it. You know what? So I was like over the summer last year, I was on Tinder, right? And I was swiping. And, you know, I like me a little bit of everything, you know? I was finding me a lot of cute Asian boys in LA. So I would swipe on them. And yeah, right? But my thing is I anticipated, oh, they probably won't like me because I was black. Hell no. Every time I swipe right on an Asian boy, he was like, yes, please, yes, please, yes, please. Like they all said yes. And so like that was the first time like I had to take my veil off and realize, oh, okay, they like me. Like it doesn't matter what my skin color is. They find me attractive and they're like, you know, they're down. Let's see, you know, what happens. So I think that it's our responsibility to get rid of that veil and that preconceived notion that somebody doesn't like us because of our skin color.
So what's your hope for being a female gamer? You know, what's your hope for women in the gaming industry now?
I don't know. That's probably not.
I don't really give two fucks. I guess whatever.
Look, I have never had an issue with being a female in the gaming industry. And if there was an issue, I chose not to make it into an issue. I am very happy. I think that being a woman, especially a Black woman, actually gives me an advantage. As far as like working with brands that want to see diversity and stuff. You can make anything work for you.
So is there like a final message you want to put out to your followers and those out there to let them know, you know, Big Boss Boze?
Dude, no, I mean, look, this is for everyone. Black is in. Take advantage of it. It's in right now. It sure is. I'm telling you, you see a dude at the bar, just walk up to his ass. Just walk up to him and don't break eye contact. See what happens. You know what I mean? Like, it's in. We good. Everybody's good right now. Sorry I was like, all serious and shit in the beginning. Like, because I'm a pretty serious person to an extent, especially like, when we're talking about like, Boze, what have you been through? I'm glad I didn't like, shed a tear or some shit. I'm hard.
Oh God. Whew. Oh God. Please. You're not getting to that point, are you?
Hell no.
Okay.
No.
Whew. I got nervous there. But, Boze, thanks for taking your time this early morning and joining me. I appreciate it. You guys follow her on Twitch, BigBossBoze on Twitter and Instagram, and also she can just Google YouTube her and you'll find out where she's at.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. Boze, I appreciate it. Thank you, and thank you guys for listening to the Baltimore Guys. If you like it, please like, share, and subscribe. And we can continue to give you this great, magnificent content. I'm out of here. Thanks, Boze.
Bye.